What's happening, guys? Will from revolutionarylifestyledesign.com coming to you today to talk about how to be a player in the game of life and why alpha is overrated. This is something that I wanted to talk about for a long time and something you might be a little surprised to hear me talk about, but it's a really important concept to understand and for you to internalize, and has brought me massive value in my life. So, in the manosphere or men's personal development movement, you hear a lot of talk about being alpha, acting like the alpha male, um, all this type of stuff. And on the whole, I think it's an important concept to understand. It's stuff that I talk about myself on my site, in terms of getting women and getting money, increasing your rank in our tribal hierarchy through being able to project dominance and confidence and building up your body are all important pieces to the puzzle. Because despite this facade of civilization, we are still very much human animals. And women respond to primitive dominance cues through attraction, and men respond to primitive dominance cues through respect. But being alpha is not always the right move in the modern world, because the modern world literally exists specifically to control the alpha male. Our rulers understand that alpha males are the only threat to their monopoly on the use of force, and as long as alphas are kept under control, everyone else falls in line. Okay? You might see all this tough talk from feminists and beta males on Twitter, but that amounts to a whole lot of nothing. The only thing governments care about is maintaining power, and the only threat to that power is a group of alpha males picking up guns and starting a revolution. Okay, and every government is acutely aware that any type of unauthorized violence, because a government is nothing more than a monopoly on the ability to use violence, threatens their very existence. And, let's get real about what a real primitive alpha male is. It's not this heroic concept that, a lot of guys talk about in the blogs. A primitive alpha male can be a really good guy, but he's just as likely to be a violent killer and unrestrained by a superior force, a superior government force. You know, from Alexander the Great to Genghis Khan, even a casual look at history will show you the type of carnage that an unrestrained primitive alpha male can cause. Uh, you know, but today's world is very different from that. It's very unlikely that a Mongolian guy on horseback is going to be able to take over a third of the world in his lifetime. It could happen, but I probably doubt that that's going to be the case, because with the help of a massive technological advantage that governments have now, and all of their ability to use the media to control people's minds, they've become exceptionally good at controlling their populations. And instead, the most primitive alphas are most likely to end up dead or in jail. And for all but a few, their instincts are just too difficult to control in a world that is not designed for them. Okay, and the ones that can control themselves usually end up becoming slaves to the machine. They still use violence as a way to earn their living, but it's as, a modern day gladiator for wealthy promoters, or cannon fodder for corrupt politicians, or as meat shields for wealthy businessmen to live comfortable lives. You know, don't get me wrong though. Okay, don't get me wrong. Any man that's willing to fight and die for his country and what he believes to be right is braver than I am and has my full respect. And I know some of you guys might be soldiers, and if you're doing what you think is the right thing and protecting your country, all those guys have my full 100% respect. But unfortunately, that man that thinks he's dying for his country rarely dies for what he believes in. He usually dies as a pawn for an immoral and corrupt oligarchy that run the country to enrich themselves and their friends. That's the truth, and you can look throughout history. That is a constant. Okay, that's why this manosphere's obsession with alpha worship, I think, needs to stop, because the true primitive hardcore alpha male doesn't even fucking read blogs. Okay, because he's dead or in jail or in Iraq trying not to get his fucking head blown off by terrorists. Okay, that's the life that a primitive alpha male lives, and to me that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. Okay, because our world is not built for primitive men. You got to understand that. The world we live in today is not the jungle. Our world is a knowledge-based economy. Okay? And what I mean by that is we're not ruled by the biggest, toughest guys anymore. We're ruled by the smartest guys. We're ruled by guys like Bill Gates. Okay? And looking at Bill Gates, there's nothing alpha about him. Okay? He could not command respect in a tribal hierarchy that is ruled by brute force. He has alpha instincts and alpha characteristics, no doubt, behind his drive towards success. But in terms of how he stacks up to a primitive alpha male who's able to command respect from his sheer presence alone, it's not even close. You know, in the article to this video and audio, I've got a picture up of Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink is a former Navy SEAL commando, and just by looking at that guy's face, you know that he has a job related to combat in some way. There is no way that he's not a soldier or an MMA fighter. It would be impossible. Okay. You know, in the savage jungle, a guy like Bill Gates would be washing Jocko's loincloth, you know, let alone leading the tribe himself. But in our world, guys like Jocko are more likely to be working to keep Bill Gates and his family comfortable and secure and happy in their little bubble. You know, you look at someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who's one of the strongest advocates for gun control laws, and yet he spent $20 million last year on private security firms to protect him and his family, who no doubt are carrying automatic weapons. Those are the guys who are in charge of our world. Mark Zuckerberg, same as Bill Gates, does not look like your intimidating alpha male, but he has the fucking brain to succeed in the knowledge-based economy. So what I'm trying to get through to you guys is that most primitive alphas don't have lives worth emulating, because success is about brain power, not about brawn. Okay, success in a knowledge-based economy is not about who's the most alpha. It's about who's the best player in the game of life. And it's very, very, very important to understand. Okay, guy with the most women, the most money, and the best lifestyle got those things because he played for them. He played for fame or political power or business success. Okay, a guy like Johnny Depp does not have the look of a typical alpha male, but throughout his career he's amassed something like $400 million. He's had hotter women than all of us will combined, and it's because he leveraged his skill, used his brain, you know, took all the risks of, you know, trying to succeed in Hollywood and made it happen. He got that massive success because he played for it, not because he's the most alpha gangster motherfucker in the world. Okay, a true player is a chameleon in the game of life. He can understand game and adapt himself to whatever situation's in front of him, whether that's amplifying his alpha characteristics when he meets a cute girl, or downplaying them when he's talking to an important client and deferring to that client. Okay, whatever the smart move is, the player knows what to do and how to do it. So these concepts like alpha versus beta, lover versus provider, pickup artist versus average frustrated chump, red pill versus blue pill, these concepts at the end of the day end up really holding you back from what life really is, which is a game to be played. Okay, when you're first learning about the game of life, those concepts are useful to you. They were to me, when I was upgrading my knowledge base. But to take your game to the next level, you need to play past them. In fact, you need to play past almost all concepts, all isms, conservatism, liberalism, tribalism, movements, all that stuff. You need to play past that stuff and be adaptable. Like Bruce Lee said, be like water. Move yourself to whatever the right move is. Adapt yourself to whatever the right situation is, and not be boxed into these rigid concepts. And when your primary priority is being a player in the game of life, that allows you to use moves that a guy who's trying to be an alpha male doesn't have. Okay, it allows you to use those soft skills that are incredibly effective in a knowledge-based economy. And it's really important to understand that being a player in the game of life isn't about acting alpha. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's important to understand how to project strength and confidence and authority and certainty. It's very important. But more important is knowing what to project in any given situation and when to project those types of attributes and when not to project them. Okay? Knowing how to restrain your alpha instincts is just as important as knowing when to indulge them, because acting alpha can hurt you as much as it can help you. That's the truth. When you're the new kid on the sales floor and you walk in like you fucking own the place, you're gonna get slapped down by your boss. And when I worked in sales, I saw that happen a million times. Kid coming straight out of college, walking in like his shit doesn't stink, and within a week or two, he's getting checked left, right, and center. When you mouth off to a cop, that is an alpha thing to do, but that is not fucking smart. That's gonna end you up in jail for the night. When you amog the wrong guy at a bar, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in. As the great Dave Chappelle said, when keeping it real goes wrong, it is a very bad situation. And keeping it real 90% of the time goes fucking wrong, okay? That's how it goes. Because keeping it real usually involves some type of force to protect your position, and now your position got way worse than it was before. So what I'm trying to express to you is modeling primitive, hardcore alpha males is not the right move for success in our knowledge-based economy. Okay, pickup community, they talk a lot about modeling alphas, guys who are naturally good with women. And when it comes to cold approach pickup on the street where there's no social consequences, no police, no nothing, modeling some alpha traits can be a really good move. Confidence, dominance, turning all that shit up to 10. I do the same thing when I'm first meeting a girl because there is no consequence to it. But there are a lot of situations where there are massive consequences to even the slightest alpha male projections of dominance. Be it talking to your boss or the immigration officer or a police officer. That's the type of shit that's going to get you into real trouble in the real world. Okay? And the vast majority of primitive alphas, all right, I'm talking about real genetic primitive alphas, guys who you can see it in their face. Not guys who learned how to be alpha on the internet, but real genetic alpha males don't have lifestyles worth living. Okay, you probably know at least one primitive, hardcore, natural-born alpha male with a history of drug addiction, alcoholism, violence, domestic abuse, being in and out of jail, money mismanagement, not being able to hold down a job for more than a few months, or all of the above. Okay, I've known guys like that. Even the primitive alpha male who gets it together and upgrades his lifestyle many times has a hard time holding on. Just look at War Machine. Okay, great looking guy, insane MMA talent, and he even actually was a red pill guy. He had a deep knowledge of red pill. He used to sell t-shirts called with slogans on them, saying doing alpha male shit. Like, this guy understood the men's self-improvement very well, yet he couldn't hold it together and ended up beating the shit out of his porn star girlfriend when he caught her with another guy. I mean, the chick is a fucking porn star, for fuck's sakes. But his instincts kicked in, beat the shit out of her, beat the shit out of the guy, and now he's in jail for a very long time. You know, his promising MMA career is finished. All the stuff he had going for him is gone because he couldn't hold it in check. Okay? The truth is, outside of a bit of their game and a bit of their confidence and a bit of their attitude, there are very few hardcore primitive alphas with lifestyles worth emulating. There are very few Arnold Schwarzeneggers, guys with both the brawn and the brain, and guys who are able to do very well in the modern world. Those guys are a very rare exception to the rule. And what I want to express is, having the presence, the confidence, and the ability to assert yourself are very important, but just as important are the soft skills and the ability to restrain yourself from making bad decisions. I am here speaking to you right now because of the restraint I've exercised over myself in the past 15 years. No doubt about that. No doubt that if I had indulged every alpha instinct I have, I would be in jail. Guaranteed. A true player in the game doesn't box himself into a role. Okay, that's how I think of myself. A player in the game, and I think about playing the right card at the right time. And the game is not about acting alpha. The game is not about being red pill. The game is not about adopting dark triad traits so that women like you more. The game is about playing for position. Okay? Playing for position. And it's so important that you understand the difference. The difference between alpha and position is exceptional in modern day society. In the past, they were the same thing. Alpha genetics and position were one and the same. The biggest, strongest, most dominant alpha male became the tribal leader. You look at any of the primitive tribes today, you look at gorillas, apes, our ancestors, same thing. Biggest, strongest guy, 9.9 times out of 10 is the leader. But in our modern world, since the advent of agriculture and civilization, not like that at all anymore. And the greater we advance in technology, the less that's going to apply to real world success. Okay? Alpha and position are two completely different things. Now, sometimes a guy with position is a natural alpha, but rarely. Usually he just has some alpha characteristics, but he got there by using his brain and using his social skills. Okay? You'll see this firsthand when you first start out in the workforce, or if you're already in the workforce. No matter how alpha you are, the position you're playing is bitch, because you're the new guy, you're just starting out, and you are the bitch. If you want to succeed in investment banking and make $500,000 a year, your first year you're going to be working 18 hours a day, filing papers, getting coffee, being an absolute bitch. And some of these kids, like this kid last year, died from working 3 days straight as an investment banking intern making no money. Okay? If you don't like it, it doesn't matter, because they'll just fire another kid, or they'll just find another kid, fire you, get some kid to do it, and get him to be happy about it. Okay? Because that's how it works in the real world. If you want to play the corporate game, forget about being a fucking alpha. You got to get used to taking orders, because you're going to have to put in at least a decade in your investment banking firm before the senior partners start viewing you with anything resembling respect. Okay? You can be the world's biggest fucking super stud on the weekend, but that doesn't mean shit on Monday morning when you have to defer to a smaller, weaker, dumber man in his late 50s. Doesn't matter how much of a bar star you are. When you don't have position, you don't have shit. Okay? When you don't have position, you don't have jack shit. That's why jobs aren't shit. A job exists to subjugate you. A job exists to tell you what to do. The corporate hierarchy is structured in a rigid way to promote deference, not independence. And you don't get promoted by how alpha you are or by asserting yourself to your boss. In fact, you probably get fired for doing that. You get promoted by how well you take orders. You get promoted by how high you jump when your boss says jump. And it might take you 25 years of taking orders to get into a decent position in your company. 25 fucking years. You could start at 20 and it's not till 50 by the time you have a decent position. By the time you're an executive vice president or some level of higher management. 30 years of your fucking life before you have decent position. And even then you've still got motherfuckers telling you what to do. Okay? This is not alpha. Alpha is no one telling you what to do. All right? You got to understand that. You got to understand that no matter how jacked you are and how confident you feel, it's about position. And this might be a tough pill for you to swallow. It was a very tough pill for me to swallow. It was very hard for me to work for people. That's why my first career I chose as a prop trader, and I didn't have to work for anyone. I made a lot of money, but it didn't last long. And I am a university dropout. I had no skills other than trading, which were completely untransferable. So I had to talk and lie my way into a sales job, and then I became part of the corporate machine, and I fucking hated it every single day. Every fucking day, I hated being told what to do. Hated it. But that's what I had to do to get to where I wanted to be. And I realized that fighting it, anytime I talked back, just made my life harder. Anytime I said one word that wasn't in complete agreement with my boss, it just made it harder because that contract might have well been signed in blood. He's going to assert his will, and he's going to get you to agree because the hierarchy allows for that. And he knows that he can just fire you if you don't agree. And you know that too. Okay? So I learned that alpha at work is not the smart move. The smart move is playing the good little employee with a big smile on my face for years on end while I stacked my cash, built my businesses. Okay? It took me fucking 4 businesses to get out. For Christ's sake. I was doing that for 7 or 8 years, smiling in the face of people that I hated, eating shit from my clients, eating shit from my boss, and working 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day on my job, 4 hours a day on my business. I banked 30, 40 grand, and I did that for years on end. And that's what got me the fuck out because I was playing a different game. I was playing for position. I was playing for position of owner, leader, alpha of my own business, and I was playing for freedom in the game of life. Okay? And I got that way not by being alpha, but by being smart. What got me here, talking to you now, in Thailand, completely fucking free, owning my own business, is through controlling my primitive alpha instincts. Okay? Gotta understand how important control is. Control is fucking everything, especially in the modern world where one little mistake, one little time you don't control yourself, get into a fight at the bar, that could be it for you. You could be dead, in jail, sued, who knows what. Control, control, control every single day is so fucking important, guys. Especially important if you have primitive instincts. If you're a primitive alpha guy watching this, it's even more important for you. Okay? Now, I might not be the most primitive guy in the world. I'm not as primitive as a guy like War Machine. So it's easier for me to control myself. And looking at my baby face here, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm 34 years old, and I still have this fucking baby face. Okay, I might not be the most intimidating guy in the world. I am when I get angry, but just looking at me, is probably not the most intimidating guy in the world. However, I do have strong alpha instincts. Okay, I got them from my dad, who was an alcoholic womanizer who left my mom when I was born. My great grandfather was a gangster. My mom has a bad temper. I have a bad temper. And a couple of those characteristics that I listed for why you shouldn't emulate primitive alpha males applied to me too. Drug addiction, relying on alcohol, money mismanagement, not being able to hold down a job. In my youth, all those characteristics applied to me as well until I got my shit together and made control an absolute fucking priority and made being a player in the game of life a priority. Okay, I had a terrible temper in school. I'd argue over anything. I didn't listen to my mom's and teacher or my mom and my teachers. You know, all that dumb shit that little boys like to do. But I quickly realized that that shit doesn't fly in the real world. In the real world, that stuff is has a very negative impact on your life. Okay, in the real world, you got to be in control all the time, especially when you have alpha instincts. Okay, my alpha instincts and my drive got me here to some degree, but more so, it was the restraint of those alpha instincts that enabled me to, get to where I wanted to be in a knowledge-based economy. Okay, and it's not just about the moral angle. Fighting someone, hurting someone. It's not that just the moral angle or the spiritual angle. It's also the angle that it's just not a smart move, and it fucks up your game plan. It fucks up your game plan of success in the game of life. The successes I've had come from controlling those base instincts and transmuting them into positive outcomes. And the more I control myself and the more I transmute those rough, primitive, basic instincts, the better I do in all aspects. In relationships, more people like me. The better I get along with my mom, the better I get along with the girls in my life. The more kind and compassionate I'm able to present to you guys. All that stuff it has made very, very big differences in my life, being able to transmute that powerful drive into living with positivity. Okay, it's very, very important. And I want to make sure you understand that who I am talking to you now, the guy without a boss, I'm here because I put in the work and I built a business where I answer to no one. Okay, I'm here because I focused on position instead of trying to act like an alpha super stud at work. And now I get to act as alpha as I want to. In fact, I built an entire business around a website and a YouTube channel that focuses on masculinity and helping men. But this business only exists because I played my way out of a bad hand using my brain. Okay, not using my primitive alpha instincts, using my brain and being a player in the game of life. And now I get to indulge my alpha instincts. Now I'm the fucking alpha man, right? There's no one telling me what to do. The only time I have to check myself is, if I'm at a bar and there's some thug there, which I don't go to those bars, or I'm dealing with an immigration officer or a policeman and I'm super, super nice. In fact, most of the time, I'm super, super nice because that's how I want to be. Because I have position now and I can act as alpha as I want to, but I understand that acting alpha is a luxury. I only get to act alpha because I structure my life in a way that I don't have anyone telling me what to do. And that freedom came from playing my hand into the position I wanted. Okay? Being alpha, acting alpha is a luxury. It's a luxury when you're not around people who can commit economic or physical violence to you. It's a luxury that you can only indulge when you've devoted yourself to the position of not having to deal with those people, when you've removed violent people from your life, when you don't go to bars where thugs hang out, when you avoid the police, when you get yourself out of the workforce, when you remove domineering or violent women and girlfriends from your life. When you focus on the position in all of those aspects, then you get to be alpha as fuck because you don't have anyone challenging you, right? That's That's what you got to understand. Being alpha is a luxury. Until you get position, you got to play you got to play the fucking game. You got to play the role with a smile on your face. You got to do whatever it takes. Smile to your client, smile to your boss, smile to your parents, whoever it is, until you get to where you want and you get to do whatever the fuck you want. Okay? So that's very, very important for you guys to understand. Lastly, don't think position is just about business. Okay? I know I talked a lot about business in this, but it extends to every aspect of your life. And in part 2 of the series, I'm going to show you exactly why position is so important and how to play it in all aspects of your life with women, social circle, all that good stuff. But for now, I just want you to meditate on the idea of liberating yourself from these unproductive concepts of trying to box yourself into being red pill or dark triad or ultra alpha or PUA or whatever these concepts you've learned. Okay, take what's useful from those concepts, but do not box yourself into those roles. If you're going to box yourself into any role, box yourself into the role of being a player in the game of life, the guy who's out for what's in his best self-interest, and the guy who adapts himself to any situation to get it. All right? Meditate on that and think about how you're going to become a player in the game of life, and stay tuned for part 2 when I'm going to talk about how to use position and how to get position in all aspects of your life. With that said, thank you so much for watching the video or listening to the audio or reading the article on my website, revolutionarylifestylesdesign.com. And as always, I wish you all the best in your personal development journey.